G'day, ZiggyD here with another Diablo 3 guide. In this video I want to share with you guys a Tempest Rush monk build for speed farming and normal difficulty. Now, the reason why you want to farm normal difficulty is to take a newly geared character, so one that you've just gotten from level 70 to level 70, or one that you're just starting to gear in Reaper of Souls. Usually you'll have a set of rares, or you'll have a couple of set items that maybe you've crafted or hand-me-down from another class. But to get to Torment 1, you need at least a decent collection of okay-ish sort of legendaries to be able to get to that point. And it is a good idea to basically focus on farming normal until you can start doing Torment 1 because of the way that the legendary drop rates scale in the higher difficulties. It's much better to jump straight into Torment 1 as soon as you can, whereas it's much more efficient before then to actually do normal difficulties. So this spec is designed around going very fast and killing things very quickly without you having to stop moving, and Tempest Rush is a natural choice for that. And we put together a bunch of different skills that allows you to, with a fairly limited selection of gear, be able to sustain Tempest Rush firstly, and to be able to kill stuff very quickly in normal difficulty, get around those bounties very fast, and clear out those rifts very quickly. And I've been very happy with how this is working out. It's actually a lot of fun to play. It's sort of a nice chill out style of play for the monk, where you can watch something on your second monitor or something like that while you play the game, or listen to a podcast or something like that. So let's jump into the skill setup, and then I'll take you guys through the gear after that, and I'll give you a brief demonstration of how to use the skills in the build. Okay, so our primary skill is indeed Tempest Rush. Now, you have some choices with Tempest Rush. I recommend Tailwind for the majority of people. It increases your move speed by 25%, and this actually allows the monk to go faster than the cap move speed. We have 35% thanks to a passive, but while we're channeling this, we go all the way up to 60 move speed. And once you can sustain Tempest Rush for a very long time, it's basically permanent 60% move speed, which is very nice for speed clearing those lower difficulties. Now, your other choice is to go for one of the damage-oriented ones. If you are still doing normal, you're very on the verge of being very poorly geared, then you might be having the point where you're starting to pass mobs multiple times to kill them with Tempest Rush. And if that is the case, then you may want to go for a damage one, because at a certain point of taking a long time to kill mobs, then actually going for more move speed is not that helpful. You actually want to kill things a little bit faster. But I think for the majority of people, you should go for the Tailwind rune on Tempest Rush. Now, your primary skill choice actually really doesn't matter all that much. You can use Fists of Thunder Quickening, which will allow you to have a short-range teleport and generate some spirit back. And the only time you would ever use this is if you're sort of on the poorer scales of gear, like you have very limited gearing selection, and then you're having trouble sustaining the Spirit of Tempest Rush. Every now and then you run out of spirit, then this is something you can switch to generate some spirit back. An alternative is to go for, if we come over this way, we have, I think I've gone past it, Seven-Sided Strike. And I recommend probably the Sustained Attack rune if you're going this route. This costs 50 spirit, but the idea is you, hopefully by this point, if you're using this skill instead, you have enough spirit to sort of Tempest Rush around most of the time, and every now and then you'll get to like a Rift boss or a rare pack or something that's taking you a little bit longer to kill with Tempest Rush. Instead of channeling multiple times through them with Tempest Rush like this, you simply trigger that and pretty much one-shot them with that, hopefully in normal, and you can do that every 17 seconds with the cooldown reduction there. So the left-click skill is really not a big deal. Most of the time you're going to be channeling Tempest Rush and using your other abilities. So although my character is reasonably well geared and I can probably Tempest Rush in Torment 1, I tried to design this particular setup of a Tempest Rush build around a poorly geared character who does not quite have a huge amount of spirit regeneration. So I went for Blinding Flash Replenishing Light, which you can use this every 15 seconds, more if you have some cooldown reduction. And the blind effect is, nice for increasing your survivability, but in normal that's really not the issue here. The main reason I'm using this is for the Replenishing Light rune just here, which increases, which restores 7 spirit per mob hit. So basically you want to use this as often as you can. Whenever you're going through a mob pack, you'll just trigger that. Whenever you're going through a particularly large mob pack, or as often as you can, it'll restore some of your spirit. So in addition to any other spirit regen you have, this will help keep you topped up, or if you're getting a little bit low, it'll top you back up a bit. Now, Sweeping Wind is the next skill, and this is a huge part of this build. I'm going for the Firestorm Sweeping Wind rune, and this will allow you to take advantage of any fire scaling, as well as a later skill that we use will be fire as well. But the way this works is you activate Sweeping Wind, Then as you Tempest Rush around, you'll automatically refresh the stacks of Tempest Rush, of the Sweeping Wind, and you'll also crit. Whenever you crit, you can have a chance of increasing the stack, increasing the damage of the Sweeping Wind. Now, Tempest Rushing around, you should pretty much be keeping this up all of the time. However, between packs, if it's about to run out, you can actually trigger it again. So you'll see that it's about to run out now. I can simply trigger it again to give us a bit of a refresh at the cost of some spirit, and that'll allow us to make it to the next pack while maintaining our 3 stacks and giving us a lot of AoE damage. The idea is basically be able to walk past stuff and have it melt. Now, if you actually run through tougher mobs, you'll kill them with Tempest Rush, and the trash mobs and things around you will die from the damage of Sweeping Wind. And the damage of Sweeping Wind is actually pretty nice in normal difficulty, and it gives a nice sort of sustained damage as you run through those packs. Now, next up, we use Mantra of Conviction. Now, this increases the damage that mobs take around us, 16% passive just there. I'm using Overall, which increases the strength of the Mantra of Conviction so that enemies take 16% damage. I think the base is 8% damage. 10% damage, so there you go. So it moves it up to 16% damage. Basically, mobs take more damage. Now, you will also use the active effect of this pretty often, which increases the damage enemies take up to 24% for 3 seconds. So whenever you're running through an elite pack, you'll trigger this. So it'll look something like this. You're running around with Sweeping Wings, you're using your blind wherever you can. You run through an elite pack, trigger your extra damage there, and for 3 seconds, you'll be dealing an extra 24% damage to all enemies within that radius of you. So it works out very nicely there. And then the final skill we use is the new monk skill, Epiphany Inner Fire, with the Inner Fire rune. And this is a fantastic skill. You'll see this in the footage I put up, where as you're running through, basically everything on screen will get killed by little shadow versions of yourself that go and punch and destroy things, in addition to giving you a huge amount of extra fire damage there. And that also scales with any fire damage modifiers you get on your braces, or, you know, if you get some Mage Fist, or if you get some on your amulet or something like that. It all scales with that as well. And Epiphany will allow you to take down bosses almost instantly in normal, and take down huge amounts of mobs. So when you're doing those bounties that require you to kill like 100 mobs in a certain zone, Epiphany Inner Fire will basically increase your radius to the size of the screen, and as you run around channeling Tempest Rush, it procs all of those attacks on the enemies around you and absolutely destroys everything and the environment and everything. It's actually really cool. Getting some cooldown reduction, which we'll talk about in gearing at the moment, allows you to have this up more time, but the base cooldown is 60 seconds just there, but that's not too bad. You get to use that every now and then, and you get to use that whenever you get to like a Rift boss or something like that. Now, in terms of passives, we use Fleet-Footed. The same idea is Tailwind on the Tempest Rush. We want to increase our speed at which we can farm normal, and because we're one-shotting most things or running through things very quickly, move speed is what gives us the huge amount of extra clear speed, because getting around faster between those bounties, you have to cover a lot of space in Diablo 3 a lot of the time, and this helps you get around a lot faster. This also exceeds the move speed cap as well, so takes us from 25%, which we should have from gearing plus Paragon points, and brings us up to 35%, which is really nice. Next up, I use Momentum, which moving 30 yards increases your damage by 15% for 4 seconds. You will keep this up all the time with Tempest Rush. As you can see there it is, and it'll refresh before it runs out, as long as you're Tempest Rushing around. This counts as if you're just running on the spot as well. You will always have this damage buff on a Tempest Rush build. It's a fantastic passive to run on any sort of build like this, and 15%, basically 15% free extra damage is very nice. Now, I use Chant of Resonance, in again making this for people that have trouble gear, like who don't have very good gear in sustaining a Tempest Rush build. This is not something you'd want to use in a higher end Tempest Rush build, but in a lower end, lower geared Tempest Rush build, this gives you 2 extra spirit regen per second, which is crucial for helping to sustain that Tempest Rush. It also reduces the cost of the activation of Mantra of Conviction, allowing you to activate it more often. It should cost 50, but it costs around 20, 25, depending on how much other resource cost reduction you'll have. So you can see there, it costs less than 25 for me now, so you can use that a lot, and it barely makes a dent in your spirit, which is good. You want to be increasing that damage as much as you can, so you are guaranteeing that you're one-shotting things wherever you can. And again, in sustaining, we use Exalted Soul, which increases our maximum spirit, which synergizes really well with Reaper's Wraps, and increases our spirit regen by 2 again, so helping sustain that Tempest Rush. The total of my spirit regen currently is about spirit regen per second is 6.62, which allows for not infinite sustain of Tempest Rush, but when combined with Reaper's Wraps, actually means that I never really run out of spirit too much. And if you get a little bit lower than this, say you're at 4 something, then most of the time you'll be able to keep Tempest Rush up just fine. You may every now and then have to revert to a left click attack just to regenerate up for a few seconds against some tougher packs. So on that note, let's move into gearing, and you have heard me mention it a few times, and I will mention it again. The Reaper's Wraps are a fantastic item for most builds, and for this style of build they are fantastic as well. The good news is these are extremely easy to craft. I have a video on this, but basically just kill Mathael and you'll get the recipe for it, and you'll get the actual required item to craft this as well. And you don't even need base braces anymore, you can just craft these straight up. So very nice and very easy to get, and I recommend getting this as pretty much your first point of call on a character, because even if you have a full set of rares, you should very easily be able to go and craft this legendary. It won't take you very long at all. So do get this. Now what this does is it restores your primary resource. This one here restores 28% every time you pick up a health globe. Now, the higher your base primary resource, so mine is 300 now, thanks to things like Exalted Soul, increasing by 100, it actually heals more spirit per health globe, so it's a percentage of your maximum primary resource, so it's very good to stack those as well, and the synergies there are fantastic. Basically, if you're ever starting to run low on spirit while channeling Tempest Rush and using your abilities and things like that, then you can essentially steer towards a health globe, pick it up. Depending on your pickup radius, it's nice and easy, and you don't have to stop moving at all, so it's nice and fast. You just kind of get in the habit of steering towards those health globes. Now, the other really important thing is to go for a two-handed weapon. When you're a poorly geared character, you need a two-handed weapon to sustain Tempest Rush. If you use two one-handers, it will cost more spirit because you attack faster, so it'll destroy your spirit a lot faster. I can sustain okay with two one-handers, but a two-hander makes it a lot easier to sustain. Now, although the damage in general in Diablo 3 on two-handers is a bit lower, it doesn't matter losing a bit of damage. Like you can see, I lose a little bit of damage here to use the two-handed Scorn, for example. It's still well worth it because of that low attack speed, and Tempest Rush works well with a low attack speed weapon. The best thing to aim for would be like a legendary Diabo with something that supports Tempest Rush, but we're talking very early game here, so you can even just craft any two-handed rare weapon and use that. Make sure you get a socket. And if you get anything that gives you extra spirit or something like that, it's going to help very well as well. Diabos can roll increased maximum spirit, for example, which synergizes really well with Reaper's Wraps. Now, anything else you can get, like a Spirit Stone with Spirit Regen, will help a lot. Here's one that I just crafted one of. Spirit Regen with 2.2 per second will help sustain Tempest Rush a lot, so you can use that. I'm using Rakov's Glass of Life, which gives more chance to drop health globes. This is a nice one, but if we're talking very early gearing, you may not have this sort of thing. So in general, you just want to go for the very basic stats. Dexterity, you'll want a little bit of Vitality. I've got 4.8 million toughness here. This is more than enough for normal. I never really have any problems here. So pretty easy stuff. Just get fire damage on anything you can. So Reaper's Wraps, get fire damage on your amulet if you can. Get fire damage on your helmet if you can. Things like that. Get as much crit chance as you can as well. Crit chance helps build up the stacks of Sweeping Wind, so it's very nice to have a bit of that. I only have 30-something% on this character, and I build up 3 stacks and maintain that pretty easily. Now, the other thing I'm using here is I have a level 60 Stone of Jordan. If you can get something like this, it'll help a lot. This gives 2 spirit regen per second. It's also a crit chance of Tempest Rush increase, and extra damage against elites. So this is very nice. Even the level 60 Stone of Jordan is really nice. So if you have any of these guys lying around in your stash from vanilla, then you can go ahead and use one of these as well. They're pretty nice to use. Otherwise, just craft whatever set legendaries you can from the blacksmith, or use whatever rares until you start to drop some of those legendaries and just slowly upgrade yourself. That's the whole point of farming in normal here. So next up, we'll take a look at my Paragon point distribution. You want to make sure you get your movement speed to the cap of 25% without any of your other skills or anything equipped. So for example, if I remove my 1% just here, I'll go down to 34% because my new cap is 35 with the passive Fleet Foot. So you want to make sure you cap that out at 35%. Move speed is essential, so I'm going to go ahead and put 1% of this. You may have to put a little bit more yourself. Next up, I recommend maxing out Maximum Spirit. This will help synergize with Reaper's Wraps to increase your spirit gain from life globes, as well as just give you a little bit more buffer room on the spirit. And after that, simply go for damage from Dexterity. is nice and easy. In offense, I recommend going for a mixture of crit hit chance and cooldown reduction. Most of those are usually pretty good. I'm focusing mostly on cooldown reduction. I'm fine with my level of damage for normal, so getting more cooldown reduction allows us to use things like Epiphany more often, which increases our overall clear speed. So you can make the decision between those two there. Don't go for attack speed. Crit hit damage is okay though. In defense, I recommend going for some All Resist, and Life Regeneration will help you with a bit of sustain if you need to. Otherwise, you can pretty much just go whatever. If you're farming normal, defense is not really that important. And for utility, you want to max out resource cost reduction, and you can go Life on Hit if you are having some survivability issues, but other than that, I recommend Area Damage as the second choice because it helps. It's just with your clear speed, essentially. When that procs, you will do a bit of burst damage in a small AoE, which will help kill mobs a little bit faster. So those stack up all pretty nicely. So with that all covered, I'll take you guys through a run of Keep Deaths 2 here. We have a quest to kill 150, which is a nice example for what this build excels at. First step is going to be to activate Sweeping Wind. I'll go ahead and grab the Fortune Shrine, and you'll see me use Blinding Flash whenever I can. None of this stuff requires overall. However, we do have an elite pack here, so I'll go ahead and activate Epiphany and Mentor of Conviction there as well to increase our damage. Now you'll notice that these go absolutely crazy, just destroying everything around us. We can slay these champion elites just here, get a bit of extra bonus XP and stuff like that. All nice and easy. Now we've lost our Sweeping Wind, so it takes a little bit of practice to learn to keep up your Sweeping Wind. As you'll see as we're running through and hitting things with Tempest Rush, we'll build up stacks. We're up to 2 stacks now, and we'll also maintain the Sweeping Wind just fine. However, if it is going to run out, you do want to make sure you activate that ability again to keep those stacks. See, it's about to run out now, but I have 3 stacks, so I want to try and maintain that. I will spend some of my spirit to do this now. It's going to run out again. I'll click it again just to make sure it stays up, and now I'm fighting mobs again. I don't need to worry about it anymore. So you'll see my spirit is maintaining pretty well. I can use the flash there to give us a bit more back. We'll use Mentor of Conviction here since there is a rare pack here. Run through those just once or twice, and then we'll get those nice easy kills there. Looks like we're maintaining our stacks pretty well. I'll go ahead and activate Epiphany now. We killed Aloysius the Ghastly, nice and easy, and you'll see the extra, all those little monks appearing, smashing everything around us as we channel Tempest Rush. We can even drop our 5 stacks just here while Epiphany is up, and there is the easy bounty completion. So just remember to keep up your Sweeping Wind stacks as best you can. Use Blinding Flash whenever you're near mobs so you can restore some of your spirit from it. Mentor of Conviction whenever you're near an elite pack, and Epiphany whenever you want that extra damage or clear speed. Pretty much use that as often as you want, really. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun playing with this build, and I know that this would be the way I would approach gearing up a new monk, because even with pretty low levels of gear, this sort of spec should be pretty easy to run, as long as you keep in mind grabbing some of that spirit regeneration and maximum spirit wherever you can. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.